You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets.
Well. What's happening, everybody? This is GreenBean. Welcome to the Thursday Thick of It. I am in a great mood. I've had oodles and oodles of technical fun on the way to this moment in my life, but I am through it, at least to the point where I can actually be here. I don't know what's coming. I don't know, but we're here. I'm in a great mood. Adam, I see you, buddy. I'm sorry. Kept getting kicked back to me. I kept thinking you were having it, and you weren't. So my bad. But tonight we got a good show. I am going to bring on somebody that is bound to enthrall us, to make us feel stupid and less than with his incredible statistical brain. Let us say hello to the one and only Frankie from Flatbush from Pittsburgh. There he is. What's happening, Frankie?
Hello, Green Bean. I am here and ready to gripe intelligently. If you're going to gripe, you might as well gripe intelligently.
Yeah, or else you're just a whiny bitch. You know what I mean? That's what it is. That's what it is. So I'm glad you're here, man. It's I always enjoy talking with you. You have a lot of great things to say, and you know what's fun about you is that we while we do agree on some obvious things, we don't agree on everything, and I like that. I like to listen to your takes and consider them and formulate my response as to why you're wrong. That's a great pastime for me. I enjoy it. I do.
Well, that's actually great news, because what that means is that, if we do that both ways, then we are making our own thoughts and opinions a little stronger. We're not just having a random opinion. We're fortifying it. We need fortified opinions.
That's just it. And I think, quite frankly, I think that the world could learn a thing or two from us tonight, because all you really have to do is open your ear holes and listen a little bit. Just listen a little bit, and you'll see there are two sides to every story, and not all of them are yours. And it doesn't mean that it's bad, Frank. It doesn't mean that it's bad. We have Jeremy Cravat and Watu-K99 in the background. We'll bring both them on in a little bit. As you guys know, we like to bring Watu-K on around the halfway point and chat with him. He always brings the fire, as some people say, the fire. But let's say hello to some people in the chat. They've been hanging out, man, and I've been late. Derek F. checked in first tonight. He took the lead over Salty Nuts Magoo. He's usually first, but not tonight, Salty. And that's the way it'll be. So we got Jeremy Cravat, also known as you guys are probably figuring this out by now, but he's calling himself NFL Chaos with Jeremy. He's not Jeremy anymore. Now he's NFL Chaos, and that is his new channel, which I have already given him 2 subs. I have 4 more to go. I like to do that. I have a whole series of channels, Frankie, and I like to support my peeps. So I'll be doing that. If you haven't supported Jeremy's channel, NFL Chaos with Jeremy, please do. He's over there flapping his gums. He did a mock, I think. So he's getting that rolling. That's fun. So we got Tommy R in here. I said Salty Nuts is here. Kevin Vafadoust, what's up, buddy? Harry's here. Tom Bon Jovi, who we love. Yeah, man. Sneakers to Boots. Pure Adrenaline Fantasy Sports. That is John Post himself. He's here. And that's another channel that we try to support, Frank. And let's see. Who else we got? John Seeley's here. My Aunt Gina Arena, Watu-K, Kevin Randall, AC. Yeah, Mo Lake's in the house. He says, gentlemen, at least some of you. He's talking to you, Frank. That's what he's trying to say. He's calling me an asshole. That Mo Lake likes to do that. He likes to.
That's okay.
Barely shroud his insults. Just a little bit. He wants to give himself a little out, but, just enough to say, I didn't mean that, but that's what he means. FOC, follower of Christ, Dark Soldier, Alex Camilo. Yeah, man, it's good to have you guys here, and we're going to get into it. So I want to ask you some things, and this will be a little bit more free form. I don't want to necessarily interview you tonight, Frankie. I want to just chat with you, if that's okay. You think that'll work?
Yeah, that'll work.
So the first thing is, let's just get this out of our system. It is Thursday, so I like to start looking forward today. But before we do, we have to make sure that we've buttoned up the last batch of stuff. So as far as the Zach Wilson performance, we all know about the interception. The people are actually calling it the butt pick, if you can believe that. They're trying out there, Frankie. Like, we have the butt fumble, and they're trying this. These people, these haters, these creative buttholes that want to make fun of the Jets at all costs, they're calling this the butt pick. It doesn't feel like it's sticking, which will be nice. But what did you think about the whole Zach Wilson thing? And what do you think it means? Like, how are you taking it? We've had a few days to digest it. He was 20 or 14 for 24, $145. You ran in a touchdown, had the butt pick. What do you think this means, if anything? And how do you think he's going to look moving forward?
Well, I'll say that while I watched it, I was sick to my stomach like everybody else, especially in the first half. I was like, "Oh no, here we go again."
Yeah.
But then he settled down and he did better in the second half. Still not good, but better. And so we pulled out the victory. So I said, "Okay, all right, still not there yet." But I saw something. So there's a couple of perspectives that I had. I saw something while I watched it that Coach Saleh commented on as well, which is that it still seems that Zach Wilson is taking too long to go from one read to the next, to the next, to the next. So by the time he gets to number 3, it's too late. And it's just split seconds. It's just he's hanging on to each read a little bit too long, and that's causing him to be late to the second read, late to the third read. And there's a reason for that. It's called being a rookie, and this is what happens. And so I noticed that during the game, and I was a little concerned about it. But then Coach Saleh mentioned it too, and made me feel a little better about it. And then I started looking at how the other quarterbacks did for the day, and I did a comparison of, the guy I think we should probably compare Zach Wilson to the most is Trevor Lawrence, because Trevor Lawrence is in the same situation. He's on a terrible team that was terrible last year and still has a terrible roster this year. They have a new head coach and a new offensive coordinator and a new system and everything else. Lawrence was taken number 1 and Wilson taken number 2. So he's the guy I watch the most. Him and probably Justin Fields is also in that category when he's playing. And I looked at Trevor Lawrence's game, and it was very similar to Zach Wilson's game. If you look at the numbers, very similar. In fact, he threw for a worse completion percentage, Lawrence did. And it's just one game, but when I look at these performances by Wilson, one of the things is you start out with your heart and you want him to be good, and so if he's not, it feels in your body very bad.
It feels bad. Yeah, I like how you said that. Right.
Yeah.
If you're going in with emotions, your emotions are going to be touched.
Yeah, and you start thinking, oh boy, then your brain catches up to your body and starts going down the rabbit hole of, oh, this guy's not the guy. We made the wrong pick. This guy's a bust. He's never going to do it. He's never going to figure it out. These other quarterbacks figured out the offense and he can't. Why is that going on? And you go down a very dark road in a very dark rabbit hole. And that's why I like the perspective of looking at, well, what are other rookies doing who are in similar situations? Now, I don't look at Mac Jones, because Mac Jones is in a completely different situation and the perfect situation, in fact, for him. And he's being very successful. He's the most successful rookie quarterback this year. And that's why I kind of put him to the side and say, okay, Mac Jones went to the exact right situation with the coaching staff that's been there forever and their system's there forever and the best coach in the league and Belichick and everything else. And so I don't do that. So if you look at Zach Wilson's play compared to others in his category, in his peer group, so to speak, it's fine. It's not good, but it's in the ballpark of what other quarterbacks in his peer group are doing. And so that, coupled with the fact that he was coming off a 4-week layoff, so there must have been some rust. And then when you watch the game again, it doesn't look as bad when you watch it a second time. That's another thing to do if you really want to get a good evaluation of these games. You have to watch them afterward when you know the score, because when you watch during the game, there's all the emotion. The emotion is clouding up your brain. And so when you watch it back, there's a lot of throws he misses, and you're like, why did he miss that? But it doesn't look as, and you got to say, oh boy, what? But you got to think the other thing about it too, GreenBean, is that you got to think these accuracy issues are going to get squared away. He's never been inaccurate in his life.
Right.
That's never been his problem. And so now it's a problem. So you have to think logically, it's likely that that's going to get ironed out and he's going to figure it out and the game's going to slow down for him. And then he's going to be what he's always been, an accurate, athletic guy who can do great things with his arm. That's the hope. But on the other hand, you never know if a guy's going to develop into Josh Allen or if they're going to develop into Josh Rosen.
Yeah. The two Joshes at the polar opposite ends of the spectrum here. And it's funny too, because, you nailed it. Like, the stress of the first quarter and a half of that game. I had a whole melee. I had it set up, Frankie, that I was going to go to a friend's house, actually my wife's friend's house. She had offered her house and she has top tier internet. She's like, why don't you do the live stream from my house? There's nobody there. So I drive 40 minutes to this house. And then I have all my lights and wires and cords and little trinkets, and I don't have my laptop. So I can do it. I didn't need any other thing I brought. The only thing I needed was my laptop. So I had to come back here. Long story short is I came in about, I guess, a drive and a half into the game. That's when I got there. And Jeremy, who has been one of the most ardent Zach Wilson supporters since, eval period, like when we're talking about which quarterbacks they like in the draft, Jeremy was Zach. And I got into the game and I was already stressed. And then I said, so what's going on? Jeremy goes, I don't know, man. I'm worried. I think we made a mistake with Zach Wilson. I was like, oh no.
And that's really saying something if Jeremy's saying that. Now, and I know, and I don't know about most of the chat knows that Jeremy has been a very big supporter of Zach Wilson from the very beginning. And he did all of the research. He watched every single throw that Zach Wilson has made, I think since high school, maybe. Jeremy, nobody's researched Zach Wilson more than Jeremy Cravat, the chaos. And so for him to say that, now, on the other hand, he is the chaos, so he's a little emotional sometimes. So
and that's where it comes from. Right. It's a good point. And look, you brought up Mac Jones, and I'm glad you did, because I was going to say, well, there's one name eerily missing from your but I do understand why. I fancy myself somewhat in the know. But there was an interesting stat that came out last week, and you might have even been the one to present it originally to me anyway in one of the chats. But when you compare the teams that Zach Wilson has played with Mac Jones, like when the teams that they've each played, their stats are remarkably similar. And it just shows how much the rest of the team matters. The fact that we have rookie coaches, rookie guards, rookie receivers, rookie linebackers, rookie cornerbacks, rookie safety, all those things, it does matter. And so when you look at, when Mac Jones has a mistake, the team can overcome that because they've been there together, the same staff in many respects for 20 years, Frankie. There are people in this chat right now that have not been watching the Jets that long. They have no idea. You know what it looked 20 years ago to them looks like when I was a kid and I used to watch black and white, like Gale Sayers videos on NFL films on Wide World of Sports or some shit, the original, what was that guy's name? Sable, but not his son, his father, like the original voice of NFL films. So we talk about the Mo Lewis hit, and it might as well be a bunch of gray-haired black and white silent film stuff to them. That's how long this regime has been together. It's when you take an intelligent quarterback like Mac Jones, who, that's his selling point. The guy's a whip. He's incredibly intelligent, calm under pressure. When you take that kind of guy and put him in that situation, it's going to thrive. But the fact that the teams that they've played that are the same, their stats, same amount of receptions, almost identical yards. It's like 25 yards different or something like that. What do you think of that? Do you think that's just one of those stats like that we call cherry picked? It's like, all right, here you go again with cherry picking stats, or does it have any validity to you?
Well, it does have some validity. I did see that. It didn't come from me. I saw it and I thought it was interesting. And it is interesting. It's just an interesting point to be made that people are taking things out of context, perhaps, and not understanding the context in which things are happening. Don't forget also that Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are coach bros. They're coach bros. They were coaching together over in Cleveland in the NFL. People forget that Nick Saban was in the NFL. He was in Cleveland, and he and Bill Belichick were defensive coach bros. And in fact, they invented defenses together. They invented a defense. They invented pattern matching zone blitz to counteract the West Coast offense, which is what we run.
Funny, and they're like, "Oh, great."
How ironic. Yeah. And you wonder why we lost 432 to nothing. But,
to nothing.
To that guy. But anyway, so Mac Jones goes from Nick Saban, whose coach bro is Bill Belichick, to Bill Belichick, who's been in the NFL for 47 years. Been in the NFL for 47 years and been in the same place for 2 decades with all of his systems and everything he's learned over 47 years. He worked for Barcelona. Everybody knows Bill Belichick. So it was the absolute perfect situation for that quarterback to go from that coach to that system with those coaches, and he's having the success everybody kind of thought he would have, and so it is. So he's not really. You can't really compare him and Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Zach Wilson. I don't think not a good fair comparison. But that doesn't mean that Zach Wilson's going to be great. We don't know. The thing about Zach Wilson is it's like, okay, another week where we shrug our shoulders and go, I don't know, maybe.
Let me ask you that. Like, so what if you think, like, what if we covertly coveted Mac Jones? We took Mac Jones at 2, and Zach Wilson was the guy that slid down to Bill Belichick. What do you see?
Well, it probably wouldn't. Neither one would be doing what they're. Zach Wilson would probably be doing a little better, and Mac Jones would probably be doing a little worse. But Mac Jones coming to us, running a West Coast offense with all new coordinators and everything else that we got going on, and our talent level and the expectations. I mean, Mac Jones isn't expected to do much in New England. They got everything. They got the defense. They got offensive line. They got tight ends. They got running backs out the wazoo. They can run the ball. They can pound the ball. They can play defense. They can intercept you. They can tackle you. They can block you. And then there's Mac Jones standing there going, oh, I guess I can throw a pass. And the guy's wide open. And, you know, not to say that he's not doing a good job. He's doing an excellent job. And it's not that simple. That's oversimplified, of course. But nonetheless, he was pro-ready. Like Joe Campione is saying in the chat, he was pro-ready. And he was pro-ready in particular for that system with that coaching, going to that coach in particular. So he would have done better. He would be doing worse with us, but probably not as bad as Wilson is. So that's what I think. And our staff said, you know, Wilson's the right quarterback for us. We had the choice of anyone we wanted. We could have had Justin Fields. We could have had Mac Jones. We could have had Trey Lance. We could have had Kyle Trask. We could have traded back. We could have done many, many things. And they all determined that it's the Wilson kid. And so they're going to, we'll see. And like I said, he could develop into Josh Allen. He could develop into Josh Rosen. And we just, at this point, don't know which one of those it is or somewhere in between. And we just got to see.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting, too, because, like, look, Billy SBC is in here. What's up, Billy? It's good to see you, bud. And he's not on the Zach train. He's on the, hey, man, I'm done. I want to win a little bit train. And which I can respect and I understand, of course. But he says in the chat, Coach Saleh's job is to win games, start Flacco against the Eagles. And he goes on to say, Flacco knows the personnel and playbook. You start him if you're the coach. And it's an interesting thing, like Frankie was just saying, and we'll kind of use this to maybe expand upon it. But I don't know if Saleh's job this year is to win games. I mean, of course, they try to win and they want to win, but I think that's a secondary goal. And he was talking about it last week in a way that I saw some fans take offense to it. And I can't imagine why. Like, I've searched. I said, oh my God, like we're really digging now. When he said the Jets fans aren't, he said, I respect and appreciate the urgency of the fan base. At the same time, the Jets fan base are not really used to dealing with this the way we're doing it. They're used to quick fixes and then scrambling. A quick fix that doesn't work and scramble. And Jets fans are saying, hey, fuck you. Who are you to come and talk about us? That's the response I'm seeing out there. Not by everybody, but I'm seeing it.
I mean, that's the truth. I mean, isn't that the truth? All he said was the truth.
Yeah. So I mean, so when somebody says that, like, so Billy, when a coach says that, and like Frankie just said perfectly, I think, which is Zach is our guy. If we could have had anybody, we had the number 2 overall pick. It was the most valuable asset that the New York Jets have possessed since 1997. That is a long ass time, longer than Bill Belichick was in New England. That's how long it's been since we've had a pick as valuable as the number 2 overall pick, believe it or not. So we used it on Zach Wilson. The main goal is to develop him, let him make his mistakes. Let him fall on his face. Let him climb the tree, fall down, and break his arm. All those things that good parents do, to a degree, of course. But it's like, when you have a situation like this, they've chosen to go the hard way. Even when they cut Blesson Austin, a lot of people said, what the hell is that? He's the only guy with any experience. And like, yeah, that's not as valuable as Eccles, Michael Carter, Pinnock, Guidry getting their reps. We want them to have their reps. Blesson Austin, in our opinion, is not the guy moving forward. He's limited. His ceiling is lower than these guys. So we want to just get them out there. And the same thing's happening with Zach Wilson. So I would argue, Billy, that Salah's job is to build a team here, like Joe Douglas and Salah in concert with one another. Their job is to build a strong culture and build a strong team. We're 10 games into that. I don't think winning is necessarily the end-all, be-all right now. They're in year 1 of 5 years. Each of them have 5 years left on their contract. So they're like, we're not in year 5 trying to desperately make it look like we should get extended. They're in year 1 saying, hey, we're going to get these kids to play. Frankie, do you agree? Do you think I'm off base? Do you have a different take on that?
Well, slightly different. I mean, I think that both Joe Douglas and Coach Salah's job is to win sustainably and in the long term and have winners year after year after year. I think we want to be like the Steelers. We want to be like the Ravens. We want to be like the Patriots. And so, yes, his job is to win, but his job is to win over time and to win games sustainably as a program. And so it's basically building a program that's going to win year after year after year, regardless of what free agent comes or goes, what draft pick is a bust. If we have a N'Keal Harry and he's a bust, well, it doesn't stop the Patriots train from winning. N'Keal Harry's a first-round pick that's pretty much a bust. I mean, he's a bit player on the Patriots, and it's a first-round pick, and still they win. It doesn't matter. Because why? Because they have the systems in place. They have the coaching in place. They have their philosophy in place. They have everything they need in place so that if one thing doesn't work out, if a couple things don't work out, if they have a breakout of injuries, they have a few guys go on the COVID list, the train doesn't stop, and they still perform and they still win. And so while I would say, yes, the job is to win, but you want to win sustainably. And these are tough choices that we have to make. And I did like what Coach Salah said about this. And he said, you want to play young guys when you feel like playing them is going to benefit them, is going to benefit them. There's, because the other thing you could say as well, what's going on with LaMichael Pirine, for example? What's the point of playing Tevin Coleman and LaMichael Pirine sitting on the bench? What's the point of playing Ryan Griffin and putting Yeboah on the bench? And these are the calls that they have to make, where some of the young guys do get to play and they're ready. They feel like they're ready. And other ones, they don't feel like they're ready yet. Although I do have a sneaking suspicion that this week could be Yeboah season.
Yeah. Well, obviously I would like that. And look, and this is the thing, like, some people accuse me of being a homer, and I'll honestly say I do tilt that way, but I don't think I really am. I'm a constructive guy, and I refuse to jump off a cliff, when somebody throws a bad pass or drops a pass or something like that. I'm not as reactionary as some others. That all said, there are issues I have with the way that this rookie, young, inexperienced coaching staff is handling some of the personnel. You brought up 2 names. I mean, I don't like how they handled Mims, but then again, there's a lot of sickness. We're not getting maybe Mims is sitting in Salah's office crying at night about his belly. I mean, I heard I can't play. We don't know what it is. We don't know anything. That all said, I don't like it from my perspective. I don't like how Austin Walter leapfrogged LaMichael Pirine. And he looked fine. You know, I'm happy with a positive product on the field, so I'm never going to complain about that. That all said, we have a 23-year-old running back that was making a case to be the starter in preseason, and he just can't seem to get on the list. He's listed as the second running back behind Michael Carter, and he's just routinely leapfrogged by this guy, that guy, the other guy, and I don't know what that is. So I don't agree with that stuff. That said, we don't know what they're doing. And like you just said perfectly, his job is to win games over the long term. And I really think the Patriots culture thing is a very, very good example to use to remind people, you know, the reason that they can lose players every single year and have bust draft picks, they take away their picks because they cheat and all those things. It never matters because their systems are so entrenched. All they have to do is take this guy and say, hey, here's what you do in this system. Do not veer from what we're telling you to do 1 inch. If you do, we will cut your ass. And if not, you know, so just do what we're doing. And they thrive. Why? Because the system is tried and true rather than the players. And that's what we're in the early stages of doing. And I saw something else. Oh, real quick, Thomas Cahill says, been watching quarterbacks since the mid 60s. Wilson has that in quotes thing, and it will come out. And that's the good news. The good news is that the mistakes we're seeing from Zach Wilson are things that any quarterback can do, like the short stuff. We say it every week. He's thinking. The game is still very fast for him. So he's trying to be perfect, all those little things. But the talent is in spades. You can see it when he does get comfortable for those plays. He has flashes of like true. You're like, wow. And that's the thing. Like a lot of quarterbacks, like a Mike White, they thrive with those little things. But then when you need him to do something in a moment, he gets sacked or he fucking fails or he can't reach, you know, his deep game, whatever it might be. So I think Zach, the good news is he's struggling with the things that you said in the opening that he's done well his whole career. So it's not like he doesn't have it. He just can't seem to get it because there's so much going on in his head. So I saw Mr. Magic's. There was a conversation going on about trusting Joe Douglas and his scouting team. Mr. Magic's chimes in and says, JD's scouting staff is 90% what McCagnon's was. Now, interestingly enough, Mr. Magic's, I got into a conversation. I couldn't sleep last night. I got into a conversation at like 3 a.m. With somebody who was calling me a clown, right, online.
This is what GreenBean's doing at 3 a.m. He's getting into Jets-oriented arguments.
Well, yeah, because you know what it was, Frankie? I went on my buddy is a pilot. He worked for me for years. He was a low-level, like what we call a behavioral tech. He was just a grunt for this company where I was the director. Slowly over the years, he's climbed. And the fact that he's a pilot and offered me a flight, like it's like the fact that I'm trusting him is like, it's kind of crazy, right? But I do. So long story short is he invited me up. We were going up in the air to fly over Hard Rock Stadium this morning at 8 a.m. And even though it wasn't like palpable, the truth is I was excited. You know what I mean? I was nervous. I was scared and I couldn't sleep last night. So I was like, let me just check on some comments. And the first thing I saw was somebody like GreenBean's a clown. The guy's a loser. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So I decided to engage. And so
it's always a mistake, GreenBean.
I even had the voice like, this is dumb. What are you doing? But here, Frankie, you'll be proud of me. I chose the high road and I explained myself. And I said, I hear you, but blah, blah, blah. And then he said, those are good points. And we got into a nice conversation. So the point is that we were discussing the scouting department and the personnel department. And here's what's interesting. While Mr. Magic's is not incorrect, he's not inaccurate here. I wouldn't say it's 90. It's probably closer to 80%. He did bring a scout from Chicago and he fired the two guys, Joe Douglas, that is, fired the two guys when he first got here that he identified were leaks to the press. You guys might not remember that. It was a big story for 5 seconds, but nobody wants to put out that story because they don't want to talk about leaks to the press and all that shit. They're not going to talk about their guys. So Joe Douglas figured out that two of his scouts were leaks. He cut their heads off, replaced them with the guy from Chicago. His name is escaping me right now. And here's the other thing that he did. He brought in the entirely new analytics director. So he revamped the analytics department, and then what he did, and this is what we know, is he revamped the top tier of the department, the directors. So Phil Savage, Rex Hogan, Chad Alexander. And the truth is that scouts have a very, very simple job. Scouts' jobs are always the same. They go to the place, they collect information, all the demographics, all the physical traits, all the things. Then they give their little opinion, and they feed the information to the directors, and the directors make the decisions. That's how it goes. Now, the good news is, while the scouting department is about 80% the same guys, we did pluck some of them. We did replace some of them. But the good news is that the guys making the decisions are all different. And what they're doing is they're making this personnel department modeled after the Ravens. Okay. So it's interesting, when we talk about the scouting and trusting and everything, Mike Maccagnan wouldn't let his scouts or his personnel department talk to the coaches come draft time. Did you know that, Frankie? He wouldn't let them communicate.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Can you imagine why? Because he's a jerk. That's why. Now, because he didn't want the coaches to impact his personnel department with what they thought they needed when Mike Maccagnan knew more than everybody. So he didn't want that bleed over. He wanted to make the decisions. And Mike Maccagnan was also known for taking in the information. You hear the term, this guy was pounding the table for this guy, and the GM did something else. That's Mike Maccagnan. Mike Maccagnan took the information. They could say, this is not the guy to draft. This is the guy. Mike Maccagnan overruled them routinely. There were numerous stories about this, and he would pick his own guys. So again, scouts are just the information collectors. They're the boots on the ground. They're the guys making the reports. The decision makers are all different. So I want to bounce that to you, Frankie. Number one, did you know any of that? Do you have any thoughts about that? Or secondarily, what do you think about the concern that Mr. Magix is expressing, which is, I don't necessarily trust this department because they are the same. Some of these guys have been here all the way back since Bradway. So there are guys that have been here for 15, 20 years. So what do you think? Are you concerned? Do you trust, or do you think there are reasons not to?
No, I'm not concerned. I mean, you really don't want to rip everything out from the roots, unnecessarily. Some of these scouts who go and file their reports, they're good scouts. Joe Douglas, I'm sure, did an analysis and said, okay, who can we keep? Who's filing good reports? Who's not? And then he took out the head guys who needed to be taken out. And then the guy who got taken out, the most important guy, was Maccagnan. Joe Douglas is the one who pulls the trigger on these deals, and so he's at the top of he gets all this information. Now, the other thing that Joe Douglas has said is he wants open collaboration and conversation. He doesn't want groupthink, and he wants disagreement. He wants people pounding the table for this guy and that guy, and you hash it out. And you have all the arguments, and then ultimately Joe Douglas makes the decision. And that's the best way to do it. You have people passionately arguing for this one and that one, and I like this, and I'm seeing this, and I'm not seeing that. And you want all of the opinions on the table. You don't want groupthink. The last thing in the world you want is groupthink. Everybody has the same opinion. Zach Wilson's the greatest quarterback of all time. Well, okay, is there any concern? What about his injuries in college? And what about this? And what about that? There has to be some negatives. You can't just have people just being glowingly positive about everything, about every player. You want dissenting opinions. You want guys going, I think this is a problem. I think you might have a problem doing this or doing that. So you want that. And that's what Joe Douglas, as far as I understand it and as far as I know, is fostering. That's the kind of culture he's fostering. And so I don't have any concerns about that. And just look at some of the things that Joe Douglas has done just this year. He picked up a starting safety off somebody's practice squad who's playing really well, named Elijah Reilly. He traded for a starting right guard with a special teams player who we then picked back up. So we essentially got Dr. Larry for free. We got him for free.
Larry, for free.
Who the heck gets a starting right guard in this league for free? We got him off of the other team for nothing.
It's amazing.
So
It's
how
amazing.
can you say that Joe Douglas is doing a bad job? And look at his draft picks: AVT, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, all the rookie cornerbacks. He picked up Quincy. AC is right. We picked up Quincy off the scrap heap, and he's doing a good job. Look at all of that. And I don't know if you've had a chance to watch the latest episode of One Jets Drive, GreenBean. But
Was I in it? If I'm not in it, I don't watch it.
No, you're not in this one. So those who don't know,
Oh.
GreenBean sometimes makes a surprise appearance in One
That's
Jets
right.
Drive episodes, but he's not in this one.
They haven't called me back.
But there's something very impressive in this One Jets Drive, and it's something very impressive about Elijah Vera Tucker. And it's something that I think once you see it, you're going to be rooting for this guy so hard because he's showing leadership qualities, amazing leadership qualities. There's a scene in the clip where Elijah Vera Tucker goes to Elijah Moore, and Elijah Moore, this is after the Miami Dolphins game. Elijah Moore is very disappointed and down about the Dolphins' loss, and he leaves his helmet in a place where you're not supposed to leave it. I don't know what's going on with these helmets. I don't know where you're supposed to leave them, where you're not. Elijah Vera Tucker goes over, picks up Moore's helmet, and he goes, yo, E, they call him Elijah Moore. Yo, E, get over here. He says, and he hands him the helmet, and he goes, yo, E, we don't do that. We don't do that. We, the Jets, do not do that. We don't do it. And, I'm shoot, man.
What did Elijah Moore say? Did he say you're right?
Elijah Moore said, yes, sir. And took his helmet and said, yes, sir. Sorry. I'm all in on Elijah Vera Tucker. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I love it, dude. I love that. What's the knock when you start a whole bunch of rookies, Frankie, that we're going to have a vacuum in leadership? So
Right.
to see a guy that happens
Exactly.
to be one of those rookies filling it so early is a major plus. I'm going to watch that, man. I actually do watch most of them. I didn't watch last week's, and if the one came out, would it come out Tuesday? So I didn't watch this week. But up to that point, I saw. So that makes me want to watch it. Thank you. That's amazing. Elijah Vera Tucker, huh?
Yeah, Elijah Vera Tucker, and that's rookie. You hear people saying we're going to hold each other accountable. We're going to hold each other accountable. You hear that all the time. Well, there's an example. That's it. If you're wondering what that means, what does that mean? We're going to hold each other accountable. What does that mean? That's it. A rookie holding another rookie accountable, saying we don't do that, Elijah. That's not what we do. The Jets, we don't do that. We don't pout, and we don't, And it was good that Elijah Moore was upset that we lost. I like that. He was showing emotion. He was upset. We lost. I don't like it when when we lose and everybody's partying and dancing. No, he's upset, and that's a good thing. But and still, you be a professional and you put your helmet where you're supposed to put it. I don't know where they're supposed to put their helmets, but apparently it was in a place it wasn't supposed to be. Not there. And so that's beautiful, and those are the kind of guys that Joe Douglas wanted to bring in here, the leaders, the leadership guys. This is what we thought we were getting with Elijah Vera Tucker, and now we're seeing it manifest. And that's a beautiful thing, and that's part of building up this culture. Somebody mentioned in the chat The Man in the Arena that's playing on ESPN Plus, and I would recommend everybody watch that, and you'll see something. You'll see a lot of things, actually. And Tom Brady, had to be roped in a similar fashion by Willie McGinnis at one point. Tom Brady was out partying and doing certain things that he shouldn't be doing. And at one point, Willie McGinnis pulled him in and said, listen, Tommy, I see what you're doing. Here's what's going to happen to your body. Here's what's going to happen to your mind. Here's what's going to happen to your game. You're going to get way off track. Do you really want to do that? And if not, you need to get it right and you need to fix it. And Brady said, yes, sir. And now we got the Tom Brady we got. So.
Yeah, well, and look, that's been something sorely missing here. Obviously, when you flip the roster every 2 years, let's say, and sometimes even 1 year. I mean, from year to year, we have a different cast of characters. If you look at as a little sample size, look at Sammy Darnold's weapon core, his wide receiver group. His first year was Jermaine Kearse, Robbie Anderson. The next year he had Perryman. Oh, no, that was his third year, Perryman. But his second year, I don't even remember who the hell it was, right? But it wasn't the same guys. Robbie Anderson was still here. Then he loses Robbie Anderson. They bring in Doxson and Perryman. Every year we have a different batch of guys. When it's like that, guys are not they're not taking ownership in the team and the culture. They're getting their check. They're trying to use maybe this platform to get a better check. So that can be the only reason they're playing hard sometimes. But especially when we're losing, dude, they could give a shit less. The guys that Mike McCagnon put his stock into were Leo, who was a good one, but he's too quiet. He's not known as a leader. He's a very, very good example, but he's not an outward leader. He did Jamal Adams, Marcus May, Tremaine Johnson, and Giacomini. No, Giacomini was Idzik. But those are the guys that Mike McCagnon chose. Like, remember, when he brought Jamal Adams in, he literally brought the reason that he wanted him so badly was because of the culture change that he thought Jamal Adams would bring to the New York Jets. That was how we were trying to install leadership. And then every year, new guys, this guy's coming, that guy's going. So the fact that we're starting rookies right now, they're on, let's say, outside of the first round, they're on potentially 5-year contracts, but rookies are on 4-year contracts, generally speaking. So these guys, if guys like Michael Carter and Michael Carter II and Brandon Eccles, if they, AVT, whatever, if they stick, like if they are worth keeping, they're going to be here for a minimum of 4 years. That alone is double what we're used to seeing around here, outside of one anomalous guy, a Brian Thomas or, some guy who's here for 5, 6, 7, 8 years. But other than that, we're a flip it over team. So the fact that we're seeing guys taking leadership roles that are young, AVT's more than likely going to be here, barring some sort of freak injury or something, he's going to be here probably 10 years. The fact that he is in year 1 correcting his peers, they're here the same length of time that he is and taking a leadership role. And then you see guys like Carl Lawson, you see guys like even Quincy Williams, I'm hearing, is somewhat of a leader. You see Keelan Cole, you see CJ Mosley. They're taking this leadership role and trying to push the culture up. And I think that can't be understated how valuable that really is.
Well, I'll give you another one. Elijah Reilly. We picked him up off of Philadelphia's practice squad. He comes in, he's played 2 games, and he's done really well. Why is Elijah Reilly important? Well, Elijah Reilly's out of West Point. He's an Army man. And what does that mean? Well, what do they teach you in the Army? They teach you to do things very precisely. Pay attention to the details. You can't, as you may know, GreenBean, I'm former military. I used to jump out of airplanes for a living.
I did not know that, Frankie.
Yeah, 82nd Airborne down in Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Wow. You didn't have a beard then, I imagine?
No, I did not. So, and one of the things that they teach you in the military is everything, the details matter. Everything is important. How you keep your foot locker organized is important. How you keep everything is important. So you can imagine Elijah Reilly probably in the locker room has his locker, everything precise, every detail. Yeah, somebody might go up to him and say, Elijah, why do you do that? And he will tell them, well, because if you practice your details perfectly in every area of your life, you will always be perfect in your details. It becomes a habit. You become habitually perfect in your details. And how does that apply to football? Well, look at Jared Davis. He's not perfect in his details at all. He's over here when he should be over here. It's like, right. Jared, no. You need to be over here, bud. And it may be a matter of 3 feet. And he's imperfect in his details, and that costs us very much yardage from the other team because he's misaligned. He's not in his run fits, and they run the ball like crazy. So It's just an example of, okay, you really have to be on your details, and you have to be perfect in your details in everything. Make it a habit. Make it a habit. Make it your locker perfect. Make everything. Make it a habit. And then when you get on the field, you're in the habit of being perfect in your details, and those little details are the difference that between winning and losing, between a ball being caught and a ball being missed, is just a little tiny detail that Ryan Griffin missed that touchdown pass. It was just a little tiny
detail.
Little tiny detail. Elijah Moore was about to go for 70 yards on that pass and it was just a little bit off, and it got knocked away, and Elijah Moore didn't catch it, and it was an incomplete pass instead of a touchdown. So all of these things to say, these are the kind of guys you want to bring in. Now, if Elijah Reilly stinks, then it doesn't help. He's got to be good also to be a leader, but he's been playing well also, surprisingly so. And so it's a good thing. And that's another Joe Douglas find.
It is. And, it's interesting with Elijah Reilly as a talking point here. I noticed him 2 games ago when I think it was his first game that he was in. He stood out. I actually asked, I think Jeremy might have been on the stream with me, and I said, who the hell's 33? Like, he just stood out. It was the energy. It was the way he was playing. I just saw him around the ball consistently. I saw him jumping up like all over people, excited, running around. He reminded me a little bit of Harvey Lange. Like, Harvey Lange stood out last year. Problem with Harvey Lange is he was not necessarily in the right place all the time, but his energy stood out, right? But Elijah Reilly, and then last week he was doing it again. So somebody sent me a story via Instagram this morning, right before I left for the flight. I read it. And did you know, you might know this, but he was, he came out of West Point. He played for Army. And technically speaking, those guys, they're committed to service. So they really they don't pursue professional sports jobs because they do the Army thing. So they won some award, and they were at the White House with President Trump, and Elijah Reilly took it upon himself to talk to the president. And he asked him why it is that players can't pursue, like, why they don't have that allowance to pursue a professional sports career. So while he was talking to Trump, the general came over, his head coach came over. They had this little powwow. And then a couple months later, it became official. Oh, players are allowed to do that if they want. We'll give that lenience. So Elijah Reilly quite literally changed how everything works. And then we're seeing the results. So you could imagine a guy like that who a few months ago or years ago wasn't really allowed to be a part of what he was building and pursue a professional sports career. So the fact that they allowed that, you can imagine he was elated and wanted to maximize this opportunity. And I think that's the excitement that we're seeing, Frankie. It's palpable that you could see it. Like, just when you watch him, he's not Ed Reed or anything like that, but you can definitely notice this guy's here to play. He's reminiscent of Quincy Williams, that motor that you can see the difference in how Quincy Williams is playing and how Jared Davis is playing. They're 2 different styles. One has 100% full bore, and the other one's kind of, dragging their ass a bit. Elijah Reilly looks like he's playing like that, and I think it's another good find. I mean, hey, it's 2 weeks. We don't want to go nuts yet. But there was a time, Frankie, and you'll remember this. There was a little guy by the name of Victor Green who was an undrafted free agent on the outside, and on the bubble, he was not expected to make the team. And we all know what happened to Victor Green. He's one of the more beloved Jets of that era. And so we never know. And I like that we're giving this guy a chance. And again, I think that goes toward a positive toward the Joe Douglas scouting and intel department.
Yeah, I was aware of that story, and it made me think of one of your other favorites, GreenBean, which is Teton Salties. When we had Teton Salties here, we said, hey, this guy is really something. He's gone before Congress and lobbied for, funding for Native American children programs.
Correct.
Like, how many football players have done that? Very few. And so isn't that neat to have in the locker room? And it brought to mind when I heard Elijah Reilly's story about meeting with the president. I said, oh, here's another scenario where we bring in this diversity of, experiences and backgrounds and things going on that can add into our locker room, and really give us really that diversity of background that you want, because here's an interesting guy. He's done something nobody else has done. People can ask him about that, and it's just great. We actually have 3 service people on our team, Parker Ferguson and Zane Lewis also. But the other 2 are injured and nobody knows who they are. But nonetheless, it's nice to have that stuff. And I also think the military in general background is really good to have on an NFL roster, because football and the military are, very similar in some respects. I
Right.
think a lot of the football players will respect, the military and understand, that kind of sacrifice. And there's the salute to service and all of that good stuff. And so it can only help, but he's got to play well, and he's playing well. And yeah, maybe we found something in Elijah Reilly. Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be very nice in this year, when if there's a position that we've tried different players, it is safety this year. Obviously, we've been decimated. We had DUI stuff. We had guys going out in the first week of the season. We had agents. I mean, it's been a dramatic and crazy season as far as our safety position goes. So the fact that, I think he's our 6th safety this year. So the fact that one of them looks like they might actually be at bare minimum serviceable, that would really be a great leg up, because we're going to need some safeties going into this offseason. It'd be nice to have one alongside of Ashton Davis, who a lot of people are really down on. And it turns out your favorite organization, your second favorite, PFF, seems to like Ashton Davis a whole bunch, more than the fan base. But now you're starting to see it even on the fan level. Ashton Davis seems to be looking like he might be on the upward swing, rather than just some schlub that's out there taking up a roster spot. What do you think of Ashton Davis? You think he's going to, continue to progress? You like him? Or are we going into this offseason needing to replace him? Ashton Davis and Elijah Reilly are more like backups.
Well, Ashton Davis is really interesting. PFF has him as sort of an average overall safety. He's not bad, not great, but he's sort of average. Now, the interesting thing about Ashton Davis is that what he's really good at is tackling. He consistently gets excellent tackling grades. So that's interesting in that, okay, maybe he's our strong safety, say. Even though he has a track and field background out of Cal, and we thought he was going to be run like the deer kind of a guy. Well, maybe actually he's a strong safety type. Now, if he could do both, then you have something. But
we call that versatile.
Yeah. And now Elijah Reilly, we don't know exactly what his strengths are yet. He's been sort of solid everywhere so far. But with Ashton Davis, I think he's going to start one way or the other. The question is going to be, how good is he, and how good is Elijah Reilly, and how much do we need Kyle Hamilton? The other thing, because I think the elephant in the room in the safety conversation is Kyle Hamilton, because you have Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame, who's sort of sui generis. I mean, Kyle Hamilton, you're not going to find a Kyle Hamilton, one of a kind, unique. He's 6'4" and covers like a cornerback, and tackles and runs like a deer. Those people don't exist in the safety position. They don't exist. So the question is like, how good is Ashton? How good is Elijah? How much do we need Kyle Hamilton? Maybe Elijah can be a safety 3. Maybe he's our third safety. And then you have Ashton and Kyle Hamilton. Now you have something. Because the other thing we're discovering, GreenBean, too, is that we're not a 4-3 defense like we thought we were.
No,
we're not. We're a 4-2-5 defense. The entire game in Houston, we did not have 4-3 once. We were in 4-2-5 93% of the time, and we were in 4-1-6 occasionally, which is called dime. And then we're in prevent at the end of the game. So not one time did we have 3 linebackers on the field at the same time. And I think that's a problem. And it's a problem in that our coaching staff doesn't think we have linebackers to cover people, or even safeties to bring down to cover these people. So who do they have to cover people? Michael Carter. So let's bring in Michael Carter in a 4-2-5, and Michael Carter's the 5th usually. To try, and that's been the historical way we've tried to get around this. Well, that leaves you vulnerable to what? To the run game. And guess what we've seen? Teams that have very good offensive lines and very good running games, they kill us. New England, Indianapolis, Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo has a run game called Josh Allen, but those are the teams that kill us. And that's why, because we don't have the linebackers we thought we were going to have. We thought Jared Davis was a linebacker too. And so far he has not been.
No, he's not looked good. Thankfully, Quincy Williams he kind of came out of nowhere. So I'm thankful for that. But you're so right. Jared Davis was supposed to be the guy. He was supposed to be CJ's partner. And
Right.
they were, Ulbricht and Sala were very excited about him, as was I. I mean, I liked him coming out, but he has been, let's just say, not good.
Disappointing.
Disappointing.
To the point where
Yes.
he's now on special teams. And we were supposed to have Jamie and Sherwood, and that injury killed us because he was coming along very well as opposed to Hamsel Nasruddin. Somebody asked about Hamsel. He's on the special teams. Adam S. He's on the special teams, Adam. He's playing. He's out there. He's number 45. He's on the special teams. And so that's sometimes happens with guys. They get into the league. For example, Troy Polamalu did the same thing. Not that Hamps is going to be Troy Polamalu.
No, but it's a great example, though. People seem to think that in your first year, if you're not cracking the lineup, you're a failure. Like Polamalu played special teams his whole first year.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah. And I think Adam's saying Hampson played 17 snaps. I think those are special team snaps, Adam. Tell me if I'm wrong. Y2K 99.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they were all special team snaps. So, but at least he's playing. He's healthy. That's good. He's on the 53 man. That's good. He's on the field. He's doing something.
Yeah, and he's switching positions, right? Like I think, just like you said, it's really unfortunate that two guys, Jamie and Sherwood and Eccles, that they went down because it was really like as we're trying to do this eval year. Some of the guys are really starting to step up and look well, like Michael Carter, the running back, Michael Carter, the second, obviously AVT, Elijah Moore. Like it's good to get them their time. But and Bryce Hall, even he only started the last 6 games or whatever it was of the year last year. So him getting this year and everybody working together and kind of coming up together, it's really important. And it's unfortunate that Sherwood went down. But again, I'm grateful that out of nowhere, Quincy Williams at least stepped in. It took away the ability to run 4-3 somewhat with Jared Davis and disappointing and Sherwood being out. At the same time, it's nice that we at least have 2. It looks like he's a keeper. I hope that they find a way to retain him. Or he might be here for 2 years. I think he's on another. I think he might have another year on his contract, which would be nice. But I want to get to a few super chats here. D. Smith, thank you, my friend. He says, GreenBean, appreciate the content, brother. Well, I thank you for appreciating it. It's nice. It's nice to be able to do this, man. Honestly, whether or not I'm a clown is on the side. But I appreciate you guys coming out. I thoroughly enjoy talking with you guys about this stuff. I love how our weeks progress. I love being able to do it. So thank you. We had a nice couple of comments. Salmon Jets checked in and said he likes this combo, Frankie. He says GreenBean and Frankie, that's also good to hear. I would be a little bit less pumped about that if they said I don't like this. I don't like Frankie and GreenBean. This mixture
you never
is
know.
like no, right? Yeah, we don't know. But speaking of Salmon Jets, I think he chimed in with a super chat as well, and I appreciate that, man. Again, you guys can see that we try to get to your comments as best we can, but there's a lot of them, which is great. And I really love that you guys have conversations among yourselves out there. It's super cool to see. But if you really want your question or comment to be seen, super chat is the best way. We're going to get to them. Jeremy's in the background yelling at me to make sure I don't miss them anyway. So that's we're going to get to them. So that's one way to do it. But for now, we got Salmon Jet 718 saying he loves the old school Jet stories, things we can't Google. Would love to hear another old school Jet story. I like old school Jet stories too, partially because I'm old school. So there's that. You could take away the word school. Frankie, next week I'll be 49 years old. That's 50, man. I didn't even know I was going to make it this long. It's like that old saying, if I knew I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. That's the case. But I got a clean bill of health today. The doctor told me, I was at the doctor today. He said, you're an extremely healthy young man. I found out that my vascular response in my under eyelids is exceptional. I don't know what that means.
Well, I'll tell you what, that I think we learned something, GreenBean. We learned that the way to good health is you get up at 3 a.m. and you argue with people about Jet stuff. Yeah. And that keeps you healthy.
That's right.
They don't tell you that in medical school.
They don't. See, you got to find these things out yourself. And the thing is, about 3 hours preceding that, I ate the remainder of a half gallon of Snickerdoodle ice cream with a half a bag of chocolate chips. Key
for health, ice cream. People don't talk about the how healthy ice cream is, but they really should because it makes you happy. And happy, if you're happy, then you're healthy. You can't be healthy if you're unhappy all the time.
Yeah, and it's still an improvement from my diet of years ago, which was broccoli and heroin. So it was I'm climbing up the ladder, guys. Yeah, not recommended. Unless you're just trying to lose weight, in which case it's exceptional. But Salmon Jets asked for an old school Jet story. Do you have any that are on the ready? I can pull one out. I know I can.
I think you're better with those. I think you're better with those than me, GreenBean. You know all the stories. I was a kid when I was the team that I'll just add this. The team that I grew up and fell in love with was the Freeman McNeil, Kenny O'Brien, Wesley Walker team, Gastineau and Klecko and all them.
Me too.
And that's who I loved. And my favorite was Wesley Walker. And I would always have a Wesley Walker jersey playing two-hand touch in Brooklyn at PS 207. And, two-hand touch, unless it snowed, then you could play tackle. Then you could play tackle football. And let me give you a little tip about playing tackle football in the snow. You take one of those sandwich bags, that you normally wrap a sandwich in, you put it over your sock, but underneath your sneaker. This keeps your sock from getting wet from the snow, and now you have an advantage over other players in keeping your feet dry in the snow.
I like this.
That's a PS 207 trick.
Well, and that is what I think that qualifies as old school. You know what we used to do, Frank? Now you go to games and everybody has all these pre-made items that help you to be comfortable. Like, for example, the little seat squares. Like they're walking in with these squares and they put them down on their seat and their ass is nice and cushioned and all that. We didn't have that. Those products didn't exist. I've seen people in the stadium with actual bed pillows and all that sort of stuff. But what we used to do, our trick was to bring in newspapers, and we used to put down like the Sunday paper. We would sit that down on our chair, and then you had shit to read and everything like that. But we would put that down and sit there, and it worked. It's incredibly effective for cool. One more in that vein too. I want to tell you guys about the best hot chocolate in the world. You can buy Ghirardelli or you can buy Swiss Miss. They're all going to disappoint if you just go straight up and depend on those little packets to get you to your hot chocolate place. It's never going to work. You can add extra packets. It's never going to do the trick, no matter how good they pretend to be. The way to do it is to take half a bag of Hershey's Kisses, dump that in to the thermos. We would bring a thermos with us. We would do the Swiss Miss or the Ghirardelli or whatever brand of the week. You'd pour all that shit in there, use actual milk, and then we'd take half a bag, sometimes even a full bag of Hershey's Kisses, dump them in there, foil removed, and let them just sit in there and join forces with the Swiss Miss. And when you partake midway through the second quarter, when you're freezing your ass off, it is without question the best hot chocolate you will have ever tasted in your life. It's actually hot chocolate, Frankie. And so everybody can use that one. It's my gift to you this holiday season, everybody. Go ahead. Use the Hershey Kiss trick. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. You're going to be like, holy shit. What have I been drinking? What swill have I been calling hot chocolate all these years? It's been a fail.
I mean, it makes sense. You want hot chocolate, then melt some chocolate.
Melt some chocolate. There's a place down here in Florida. There's a candy shop, and they have a little restaurant, and they have something called on their menu called drinking chocolate. And I want the first time I went there, I saw it on a menu. I said, "Holy shit, drinking! I gotta try that." And I didn't put it together. It's hot chocolate. You know what I mean? But I didn't get it. I thought it was some new concoction, drinking chocolate. But they melted their chocolate too. That's what it was. It was obviously a mixture, but they used real chocolate melted. It was delicious, good stuff. But so yeah, I highly recommend it. On a football story though, you know what I can tell you. One of the, let me do it this way, Salmon Jets. There's a player that I really have been thinking a lot about lately, and no one talks about him at all, which is one of my favorite players, the first famous guy who had my real name, which is Kyle. Kyle Clifton was one of the best linebackers. He was a part of that era too, Frankie. He kind of came toward the end of that and then bled all the way up till almost the Parcells era. He hung around till Marvin Jones came here and kind of took his spot. But Kyle Clifton used to get 200 tackles a year, 190, 205. He was a thumper. He was, no matter how bad we were, Kyle Clifton was one of the better linebackers in the NFL every single year. And he's completely forgotten. And I think that's a travesty. Do you remember Kyle Clifton?
Vaguely. I got to say, vaguely, kind of.
It's weird how some players
just disappear, right? It's partly like even Mo Lewis, people don't really remember Mo Lewis or Marvin. Sometimes I think it's even their names. Like when you have like a name that doesn't pop, it's like Steve Jones. Well, who's going to remember Steve Jones? There's 8 billion Steve Joneses.
Yeah.
If there's any Steve Joneses in the chat, sorry.
Mo Lewis is a pop. The problem with Mo Lewis is that he's the guy who did the infamous hit to Drew Bledsoe that started the Tom Brady era. And people, Jets fans, sadly to say, that's all they remember him for. And he was with us for 12 years.
He was so good.
Never played with another organization. He has like 54 career sacks. He was a friggin' animal. Great pass rusher, great in coverage, great in the run support, great team guy. He was one of, if not the best linebacker that we've ever had. Honestly, he's in that conversation. And it's just sad. Like Jets fans just remember him for the one hit. And it's a sad thing. But
it's obviously between him and Vernon Gholston, obviously.
Correct. Vernon Gholston was, how we ever let him go. Remember when we cut him and he went to the Chicago Bears and there was that article that bled out in Chicago Bears training camp. The Jets are going to regret this.
Yeah.
Chicago cut him. He didn't even make it that full season with them.
We tried him. Rex tried him at defensive line. That didn't work either. They thought, he couldn't do it at linebacker. Let's make him a down lineman. And if Rex, one thing about Rex, he knows defensive line. He's a defensive line coach. If he can't make you a defensive lineman, then nobody can, basically.
Well, and here's a story for you, Salmon Jets. Remember Hard Knocks that year? Rex was trying to get Vernon Gholston to feel some fire. So he had that offensive lineman. I forget his name. Maybe Mo Lake or somebody in there knows this lineman's name. He was our swing tackle for a couple of years. And he was a known bruiser, complete animal, asshole. And Rex got him to start a fight with Vernon Gholston to do him dirty. And it didn't work. Vernon Gholston's like,
You can't set water on fire. It's impossible. It's not flammable. You can't. This is not flammable. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's funny. So we're gonna start talking about this week's game a little bit. And Schuler. Yeah, there's some great names coming out right now. Mickey Schuler, Kevin Ramos, and Mr. Magics. He's great. Thomas Cahill reminds us that John Riggins was our biggest. He's one of the biggest mistakes. And that's the thing. When you look at what Joe Douglas has done as far as just the trade piece with Jamal Adams and Leo Williams and Sam Darnold and obviously this new one and the Chris Herndon 4th round pick and all those things that he's done. When you look at our history of trades, while there are some decent ones, more of them are look at what we lost. Look at what we gave away. And John Riggins is way at the top of that, man. We gave him away for, I think it was cash. I think the Jets needed cash. Stupid, like a 4th round pick in cash. And he obviously he's in the Hall of Fame as a Washington footballian.
Joe Douglas literally acquired a right guard for literally nothing. He took him off another team's roster and said, give me this person. I will make him my right guard starting, and you will get nothing, and you will like it, Kansas City Chiefs. and I'll
That's right.
keep Daniel Brown and get him back too.
That's right. I
Sorry.
mean, essentially what he said was, right, like, I want your right guard for nothing.
For
And I
nothing.
said, okay.
They said,
I know, it's like,
okay.
you're seeing some comments on the social media platforms, like, people are going to stop taking Joe Douglas's calls. They're like, I don't know how right now, but he's screwing me. I know he is. I know he's screwing me. But Christopher Moran checks in, Frankie, and he says the lineman's name that Rex sent after Vernon Golston was Robert Turner. And yeah, I appreciate that. I liked Robert Turner. I was upset when we let him go. I love having guys that are here for a while, like even if they're in the backup situation, like when you know what you're getting, you have a commodity, you know what he is. And like maybe he's never going to be a starter, but when he comes in for a game, you know what you're getting. For a game or two, he's rock solid. I like guys like that's why I like Chuma Edoga and some other guys that are just starting to be here for a little bit. Chuma Edoga might be our longest 10-year Jet, if you can believe that. It's crazy town. He's in that conversation. But anyway, Robert Turner was good like that. And yeah, not even Robert Turner could get Vernon Golston to wake the hell up. But so let's start talking about this week's game. We are playing the Eagles, man. Let me get to a super chat first. I'm sorry. And because his name is Kyle Clifton, Kyle Ornsby, Kyle Bean. And let's see what he says. He says, what's up, Kyle? LOL, my cousin is in the athletic department at Michigan U. All he keeps saying is watch out for Ojabo. He will be amazing in the league. And let me tell you something, Frankie. I'm not sure to what degree you've started your pre-draft kind of nonsense that we do for free. We spend hours putting up all these things and watching tape, and we get nothing for it. But Ojabo, he's alongside of Aiden Hutchinson. He's the other side. And there are people that think Ojabo might be the guy that ends up having a longer, more consistent career than an Aiden Hutchinson. Then I haven't heard anybody saying anything bad about Aiden Hutchinson, but Ojabo might be the sneaky sneakster. And obviously Kyle Ornsby's cousin says that he works at Michigan and seems to think the same thing. Do you know anything about Ojabo yet? Have you watched? Do you know?
Yeah.
What do you think?
He seems great. I think he's a consensus top 15 pick, and some people have him higher. Some people have him in the top 10. So Ojabo, I think it's pronounced Ojabo.
Ojabo. I thought it was Ojabo.
I like it Ojabo better because it just sounds better to me. Like Olave. It's like Olave versus Ojabo. It just sounds like it sounds like an Italian dinner going on.
Well, it sounds like Rico Olave. No, remember that?
Yeah, Rico Ojabo.
Yeah.
Look, we're talking in a Sicilian kitchen over here.
Yeah, we are.
So yeah, I don't think anybody disputes this. I think it's well known that Ojabo is a beast. He's going to be a top 15, top 10 type of player, and he's going to be maybe the third or fourth edge off the board.
Yeah, I think so. There's a couple that I like. I mean, I really do. I would like us to take an edge with our first pick if it's not Kyle Hamilton. I want us to take our favorite edge in the draft. That's what I want. I really want that. I'm hoping if it's Karlaftis, it's Karlaftis. If it's Hutchinson, it's Hutchinson. And if it's Ojabo, then maybe it's him. But I want us to not have to take what's left in that position this year. I think this is the year we finally need to do this, especially with this defense being so predicated on the effectiveness of the pass rush. Quinnen, JFM, Bryce Huff. Obviously, we're hoping big things for Carl Lawson that he comes back. But I think this is the year we got to get some premium, potential on our defensive end position. So I'm hoping that we do that. But if it's Ojabo, I'm with it, man. So let's switch gears, and I want to bring on Watu-K in a second as well. He's got some stats concerning the Eagles and what we're looking at here. How do you feel about the game in a macro thought process here? What do you think is going to go on? As you know, we have never beaten the Philadelphia Eagles in the regular season. We play them every year in preseason, and we've won some of those. Even this year, we beat them. But so what do you think we're looking at here? Is this just another loss, or do we have the potential to win, or what are you looking at?
Well, I think it's going to be the interesting thing to me is how are we going to scheme up our defense? If we continue to go with 4-2-5, they're going to eat us alive. This is the number one rushing team in all of football. Jalen Hurts is a dual threat. He'll put 100 on you. So he's that type of runner. And they run the ball. They figured out from the beginning of the year that they can't pass the ball. They were having trouble in the beginning of the year, mostly when they were saying, okay, Jalen Hurts, win games with your arm. And he was not doing that. He was losing them games with his arm. So they finally figured out, okay, we got Miles Sanders and we got Boston Scott and we got Kenny Gainwell. And they also have another running back who's injured, might come back. So they basically have 4 good running backs and they have Jalen Hurts. So they said, oh, maybe we should run. And bada boom, all of a sudden they're much better. So
and there it is.
And there it is. So the problem for us with that is they have a very good offensive line. They have this great running game, and we love to be in 4-2-5, which is terrible against the run. So the question is going to be, do we go with a 4-3? And if we do, who are the 3? And so it's like, is it going to be Quincy and Jared Davis on the field at the same time with CJ? And if so, then we need backups. So Del'Shawn Phillips will probably be active and see the field. And the surprise guy I've been talking about on my channel this week is Leroy Reynolds. Who the heck is Leroy Reynolds? Well, he's a guy on our practice squad. If you remember, we signed B.J. Goodson, and we said, okay, we need some linebacker depth. Let's bring B.J. Goodson in here from the Browns. Okay, he comes in, he plays one game and decides to retire. He tells us, see you later. What? We just signed you. What are you talking about, see you later? Well, he decided to retire. So then we signed Leroy Reynolds, and people said, okay, Leroy Reynolds, he's got 9 years of experience, I guess. So he goes in the practice squad and he gets injured. And there's an injury list for the practice squad, GreenBean. I don't know if you knew that. You can be on the practice squad and be injured at the same time.
I like it. Yeah.
And he was, but he's been activated off of that injured list. And so if we're going to do 4-3, we probably need 5 linebackers active for this game. And that would mean Del'Shawn Phillips and I think Leroy Reynolds, because Noah Dawkins is still injured. So for me, it's all about the linebackers and how we're going to combat the Eagles' run game. Jeremy's saying Jalen Hurts may have an ankle issue. Jalen Hurts announced that he will be starting this game. So as of yesterday or whenever it was, he said he's going to be starting and playing. So I don't think the ankle is going to be a big deal for him. Remember, their backup is Gardner Minshew. So even if he is hurt, it's not like it's a walk in the park. Gardner Minshew is a very good backup quarterback, and although he's a different kind of threat, and then we could play our 4-2-5, no problem against Gardner Minshew. But still, he could pick us apart even in our 4-2-5 with Michael Carter. So to me, the key to the game is the linebacker crew and how are we going to scheme up this defense? Because to me, if it were me, I would say 4-3 and bring Ashton into the box. I want to stack the box against this team and challenge Jalen Hurts to beat me with his arm. Maybe he does, and then you just tip your cap and say, good job, Jalen. But I want Jalen Hurts to be challenged to beat us with his arm. Don't forget they have basically one wide receiver, Devontae Smith, who's very good. Jalen Reagor's looking like a bust. They also have some guys who are kind of good, like Quez Watkins and Ward. And then they have the great tight end. They have the great tight end Dallas Goedert, who's also excellent. So that's what I would do. And to me, that's the key to the game. And it seems to me if we stick with 4-2-5, we're going to be in trouble. That's how it seems to me.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I would like to see that too. And when I bring Y2K on in a second, I'm really curious to hear the numbers and how they break down for the Eagles, what they look like offensively. But I think that's the way to do it, man. I would even have my cornerbacks playing a little bit press just to kind of, delay everything, give our defensive line that extra second to get something done. Rattle Hurts, like was said in the chat. I think I saw that too. Jeremy was saying it, that Jalen Hurts may have an ankle issue. I saw that. So he might not be, they might not be as willing to let him kind of move around as much. But like you said, Gainwell, their running game is the dangerous piece. Like you said, I would really want to make Jalen Hurts beat me. And with that being said, I would want to rattle him and get to him, at least pressure him and hurry him as much as I can. And if we're given 5 to 7 yards of space, we're making it easy for him. So I would do the same thing, man. I'm really going to be curious to see what we come out with. We'll probably have one linebacker and and 3 down linemen.
It will be in dime. But the other, and then on the other side, I guess everything, of course, comes down to Zach and the blocking. So they also have the problem. The other problem they present is their down linemen are very, very good. Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat, Ryan Kerrigan they picked up, Hargrave. So their down linemen are very good. They don't blitz you. They say, we don't need to blitz you. Screw the blitz. We're getting home with Fletcher Cox and Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett. So they don't even need to blitz. So the question is can our folks block them? LDT, Dr. Larry, gotta get them blocked up. And if we can, then we have a chance, because their defensive backfield isn't great outside of Darius Slay, their cornerback. And so we might have opportunity. If we can block, we have opportunities. And then it comes down to Zach, hitting the people who are open. Please, Mr. Wilson.
This is the week. This is the week.
So
this could be, man. He settled down at the end of the game. This is the week when he comes out and he's just like, you know what? I can do this stupid shit. I've been doing it my whole life.
You know what, Greenbean? Somebody actually had a comment earlier that I saw too, and it may be nothing, but I'll put it out there as something to watch. I saw something in Zach Wilson's latest press conference that was different. His body language was much different in this
what way?
Press conference. He was relaxed. He was cool, calm. Like he was the real Zach. He was the same Zach that I saw doing interviews at BYU. BYU would have these interviews with Zach Wilson, whatever their radio station is, the BYU, podcast or whatever. And he was one type of way when he's answering questions from those guys. Well, when he's been in front of our media, it's been a little different. He's been a little more guarded, a little more, and as you would expect, he's coming from the West Coast. He's coming over here. We have these jackal media people, and they're trying to kill him, and he knows that. So he's feeling his way, and he's a rookie, and he's getting used to it. This week, this last press conference, I saw something different in his body language that made me think maybe. Now, maybe that means nothing. If he comes out and stinks it up, then okay, that was just, who knows what the heck that was. But if he comes out and he does what we think he can do and has a really strong game, then maybe something has clicked finally with him, and maybe just maybe we have something.
Maybe. Well, that would be nice. That's good news. Y2K, are you ready to come on, buddy? All right. So we're going to say hello to our good friend, Y2K99. He's been in the chat all night, but let's bring him on here and say hello. What's happening, buddy? You're doing well back there? You've been giving me game updates. How's it all going?
It's going great. It's good to be here on the broccoli and heroin edition of the show.
There it is.
Nobody had that on the bingo card. That's
right. You gotta pull out the surprises every now and then. Not all diets are the same. Y2K.
I'll have to take your word on that one.
Yeah, thankfully. So let me ask you. You heard Frankie and I discussing what we think the Eagles are going to try to do and where they've had some success. What are we looking at mathematically? What are the Eagles bringing to MetLife for us to face? And then you can even talk about how you see it going. What do you think, what kind of success we'll have? So what are we looking at here?
So one of the biggest stats that I've found that I never would have expected is that Philadelphia is leading the NFL in explosive plays of 20 yards or more. They have had 118 explosive plays this season, which is pretty interesting to me that they're only 5-7 on their record because, they do have a tendency to turn the ball over. Jalen Hurts has thrown 8 interceptions. He's been sacked 21 times. They're a very capable team, but they're very capable of shooting themselves in the foot.
Is that so they're mistake prone?
I would consider this team to be pretty mistake prone, yes. But like Frankie said, they are starting to kind of find their way. Really, it's pretty interesting to me that Miles Sanders has been as disappointing as he has been. I mean, no touchdowns. He has been such a fantasy bust, and my team can testify to that. 88 carries for 458 yards. I never in my life would have expected that. But Boston Scott and Jordan Howard have not practiced this week. So we'll see how much they can go, but maybe that opens some space for Kenneth Gainwell, the rookie running back, who a lot of us liked, before the season.
A lot of us.
yeah, outside of Michael Carter, Gainwell was a guy that I was looking at, but he hasn't been playing too much this season. And another thing, they do have a really good offensive line between Jason Kelsey at center, Lane Johnson at right tackle. You know, you can't really run the ball very well if you don't have a solid offensive line. And Pro Football Focus currently has them as the 8th best offensive line in the game right now.
Is that what's been wrong with us, Y2K? That's what we need? Offensive line?
Well, that's been wrong with us. You know, they got us kind of. You know, the amazing thing though about PFF, they've got Connor McGovern rated as our top-rated offensive lineman this season. That's pretty shocking, considering how much hate he gets.
His highest mark was 6th in the NFL, wasn't it? Am I wrong with that? 6th or 7th overall center in the NFL? Can you believe that?
I think I remember seeing that at one point. Yeah, I do remember him having a game. They rated him, I think, as the 4th or 5th best center one particular game. They said he's had some bang-up games, but he's one of those guys that I think we as fans, we really focus on the negatives with him. We only notice his mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, we don't notice any pancake blocks from Connor McGovern. But in terms of a strategy, what I think is really important, as much as Philadelphia loves to run, and as we have to hope Jalen Hurts is still a little bit hobbled, we have to keep this team in 3rd and long. I'll give you another number. Philadelphia is 5th in the league in 3rd down efficiency. And they have converted since week 8, 52% of their 3rd downs, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is.
Got to keep them in that 3rd and long, make Hurts throw the ball.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. That's a good point, Adam. And I would say that's so it's key to me that on 1st and 2nd down, we need to stack the box. You know, it's like you got to take it. And if they want to go ahead and take a chance and throw on 1st and 2nd down, you just tip your cap to them. But stack the box and make it 3rd and long. That's what we need. And then you unleash the Quinnen beast.
Unleash the Qs, the Quinnens and Quincy's. You know, speaking of that, did you guys see the Qs brothers? Did you see that another Q has resurfaced this week? Did you guys see Quincy Enunwa came out of the nowheres and reached out to Jets fans and said that, number one, he wants to play for us again. But number two, he was asking, which Jets people should I follow? I want to connect with the Jets fan base. Did you guys catch this? Adam, did you catch it?
I did see him say, I had like a notification and say, if I could play again, I would absolutely play again. And, you know, it's amazing to think that of the Idzik 12, that was far and away the most successful pick. It
Crazy.
Yeah. He was like that little shining star that shone for just the slightest time. But you know what? You can't predict. If the guy doesn't have an injury-prone history in college, I can't kill the GM for drafting the guy. It's just some guys get unlucky, and Quincy just got unlucky. Now, that said, we should not have signed him to the contract that he got. That contract.
There it is.
That was the problem.
Yeah.
If Quincy Enunwa wanted to come back, Frankie, and he had a clean bill of health, well, this is the last year we're paying him, so I think that's what might be going on. He's like, holy shit, my paycheck's gonna stop a little bit. I might have to do something. Would you take him back if he was clean bill of health? Would you give him a chance to make the roster?
He can come in for a tryout, just like anybody else. He can come in. We'll take a look at him. You know, come into the facility. We'll see what you got. You know,
because
sign you to a vet minimum. Maybe he could be on the practice squad.
Right there, he'd be ahead of Denzel Mims on the depth chart.
That's right. He'd be leapfrogging Mims all day. You know, it's funny because, you know, as much as I think we all agree, it's not his fault that McCagnon signed him to a ridiculous deal with injury guarantees while he was on injured reserve. But as far as the way he played, man, did I love watching him. When he was out there, he was exciting, wasn't he?
Most definitely. I still remember, the last time we beat New England, the Eric Decker overtime game, it was that catch. It was Quincy taking it down the field. That set the whole thing up. He was the playmaker that allowed Decker to score that touchdown. For me, that's his signature moment as a Jet. Would you both agree with that?
Yeah. What do you think, Frankie?
Yeah. And, right now in the practice squad, we have Vincent Smith and Keelan Dawes. So he'd be an upgrade. So if he wants to come in and be on our practice squad, hey, love to have you. He's experienced. He can do some things. Sure, we'll take a shot.
Joe Douglas is going to say, all right, if you give me back $2.3 million. I'll let you come on and I'll pay you $380,000. What do you think?
I don't think the cap works that way.
No.
I don't think you can.
You can't do that.
I don't think
give it
so.
back.
I don't think calculators function that way.
Yeah. So Tony G says, wow, we're still paying him. Yes, we are still paying him. He's one of, I think we have $41 million in dead cap money right now. $41 million. That's so, like, again, when people gripe about Joe Douglas, and look, we all have our issues. I hate the way he's handled the kicker, the kicker position. And there's a few other things I have. But overall, man, the guy was handed a literal, well, not literal, but a figurative bag of shit and said, here, make, eggplant rollatini for a dinner tonight. That's what we hate. He's got to figure that out. So, the fact, look at $41 million in dead cap. It's just crazy. We're still paying Kelechi Osemele, Tremaine Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. It goes on and on and on, man. So
Sam's got a huge cap hit too still this year, which is amazing considering we traded him. But
I think it's $5 million for us. I think.
Really?
So going back to the Eagles, so they are one of the most explosive teams in the league. Frankie, does that surprise you?
That does surprise me. Adam, do you know what kind of breakdown those explosive plays are in terms of running versus passing?
That I couldn't give you right now. I actually got it right off the Eagles website, as a matter of fact. So that's where I found that particular statistic. But they didn't go into too much depth. I'll take a quick look here. Maybe they've got a little more information. But
because it wouldn't surprise me if Jalen Hurts is breaking off 20-yard runs. I mean, Jalen Hurts is excellent. He can put 100 on you. I mean, so if he's breaking off, 5 20-yard runs a game, that doesn't surprise me at all.
I can tell you Devontae Smith has 11 of those explosive plays.
There you go, Devontae Smith. So that also doesn't surprise me. Devontae Smith is very excellent.
Oh, and Jalen Hurts is responsible for 85 explosive plays. That is a league high. 85 of the
85.
Yeah.
So there it is. It's Jalen Hurts. So they're realizing that their team is really more like Buffalo than maybe they had envisioned, where it's just like you have to make it the Josh Allen show in Buffalo. Maybe their team is just the Jalen Hurts show, but it's more running than passing, that type of thing. There's a lot of RPOs. I mean, they're RPO crazy. This is something that's going to drive us nuts on Sunday, these stupid RPOs. I don't know how you guys feel about RPOs, but to me as a fan, they're very boring to watch. It's like, oh, another play where we have to guess who's got the ball. Oh, great.
Yeah.
When it's boring when it's the other team doing it to you.
Well, that's the other thing too. Yeah. when it's your team, you love it, right? But
it's perfect. Yeah. Oh, Wildcat days. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because it's reminiscent. It's a newfangled way of running the old Veer offense. When that was basically all it was an option offense. And if you guys remember the Titans, that was their offense. The Veer. That's what they wanted to run. I played
Marshall. Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things like now we call it RPO, run pass option and whatever. But it can be exciting. But I'll tell you, when your team can't stop it, it's probably one of the more annoying things. Like it's like when the Wildcat was all the rage. When that the Miami Dolphins are in Wildcat, they're going to direct snap it to Brown and he gains 34 yards. Like, why can't we stop this? It's one of those for me. The RPO thing. But when teams are good at it, like the Chiefs a couple years ago, I mean, when they do it right, man, it's like it can really be effective. And I think we're seeing some of that a little bit with Elijah Moore. How do you feel, Wat2K99, about our offense versus their defense? What are we up against here? Frankie was talking about the specific players and some of the talent they have, but what do you think our chances are, and like what are they bringing to us defensively?
It's a pretty middle of the road defense in terms of overall production. They don't have a stark difference between run defense versus pass defense. It's really play to the strengths of your players. You're not going to find a glaring weakness on this team. The one thing though, Darius Slay, I would avoid him at all costs. He's got 3 interceptions. He's got 2 fumble recoveries. He scored 3 touchdowns this year. A cornerback scoring 3 touchdowns. It's hard to think of too many players on our team who have 3 touchdowns at this point. So I would avoid Slay. I'll be very interested to see if Corey Davis plays this game, because if he does, I expect Slay to blanket Corey Davis. If he doesn't, though, how do they use Darius Slay? Will he cover Elijah Moore all game? Will they switch him up a little bit? So I want Zach Wilson to look at Darius Slay the way other teams used to look at Darrelle Revis. Put him on an island, ignore him, go everywhere else.
That's right. Like, and whoever your player is that he's covering, if it's Moore, if it's Mims, they're doing something very, very important by taking a dangerous scoring weapon away from their defensive option. So it's still important. Get that guy out of the game. In the same way he's taken away one of our players, we're taking him away. So it could be looked at that way. Now, as far as their, like, our ability to run, Frankie was talking about some of their strengths. How's their run defense looking numerically?
The run defense, I'll give you a quick number here. Yeah, because I really focused on just like the overall thing. They're allowing 23 points per game, 341 yards per game. One other thing the guy I'm worried about, I'd say, is Javon Hargrave, number 97. Frankie mentioned him. 7 sacks this year and 8 tackles for a loss. Put him with, and Fletcher Cox has not done much. He has 1 sack all season. Just want to point that out, but we know how good he is.
Yeah,
maybe getting old. You wonder if it's an age thing.
Yeah, but how's he doing with? Sometimes it doesn't. The impact on the game doesn't work out like as far as the stat line. But do we have any info on his pressures and hurries and all that kind of stuff? Have you seen any of that?
No, not as much with the pressures. I'm actually going over to the run defense here, so I'll have that for you in just 1 second.
Okay. So Frankie, what do you think? Like, as far as our ability to run the ball, I mean, obviously Michael Carter is still out this week. We have the very well-regarded, very accomplished Austin Walter coming back alongside of Ty Johnson. Maybe we'll see LaMichael Pirine, but we're going to have Tevin Coleman. What do you think about our ragtag bunch there versus the Eagles' run defense? Do you feel good? You feel bad, Frankie?
Well, there's a couple of layers to that, and their linebacking core is not great. So the strength of their defense is the D-line plus Darius Slay. Their linebacking core is not great. So if we can get the D-line blocked up and get out to the linebackers, we'll be in good shape with the run game. The other thing I would say too is that our screen game should be deployed significantly because they're running a one-gap aggressive like we do, and they want to get up the field quickly. We should allow them to come and then dump it off to it would have been great to have Michael Carter. He was perfect for that. But whether it's Ty Johnson or Tevin Coleman, they can all do it. Austin Walter, you name it. I think we're going to be doing screen game big time. At least that's how I would do it, to slow down that monster D-line that they have.
Yeah, it's funny, now Ty Johnson has been electric at times this year, so a lot of really cool second effort touchdowns. He has 2 of them where without his, heroics, it wouldn't have been a touchdown. The one in particular on the sideline was gorgeous. Yep. The other side to that is he's kind of feast or famine. He has a few drops. He has some fumbles. He's a liability in pass protection. So I would hate to see Zach actually get on, a little bit more on target and hit a guy like Ty Johnson and see him drop it, where Michael Carter would have been just great. Maybe we'll use Tevin Coleman. But I agree. On Watch 2K, what do you think of our ability, like our screen game? Do you think that we're going to be able to employ that? Does it look like the Eagles are going to be able to stop that? Is that the way to beat them from your perspective?
I think that'd be a good way to attack them. By the way, the Philadelphia run defense is literally right in the middle. They're 16th in the league. Mm-hmm. They're allowing 112 running yards per game. So, like I said, when I was looking at the run versus pass, nothing stuck out too noticeably. I would definitely like to see them go with a couple of screens. But then again, as much flack as we're giving Zach about the short passes, do we trust him to be able to throw the ball in those little spots like Mac Jones? How many times this year have we been blitzing quarterbacks with an all-out blitz, a little flick, and next thing you know, it's like, okay, great, here comes 40, 50 yards.
Yeah. I'd like to see the reverse of that. At some point, Zach's going to be able to do that. I mean, I'm sure they ran some screens over at BYU, and maybe Jeremy could tell us how many screens BYU ran with Zach, but I'm pretty sure they did it. And I'm pretty sure Zach was able to not hit the offensive lineman with the ball. Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. You know, I'm pretty sure he did that a few times in college. And so he can do it. It's just, and at some point, that screen games are part of any offense. And so at some point he's going to have to do that. And this seems like a good game to get him acclimated to do that. And you can get, if it works, you can get a lot of yardage without having to throw the ball very far.
Seems like the timing is right for Zach Wilson to start hitting the 5-yard dump offs, the 3-yard dump off, that 9-foot pass. It's time. This is the perfect week to do it. Now, just for a second, though, AC chimes in and he says, I love Walter. And Frankie, I'll start with you, but do you love Walter? Do you think, he's on his way here, or do you think it just was a day and, he's going to settle back into obscurity? What are you looking at here? Do you love him?
I do love him, and I'll tell you why. Well, I mean, I like what I've seen so far. Now, he went to Rice. Yeah. I don't know if you know about Rice University, but it's an R1 excellent school. They don't let a bunch of dum-dums in there. So that tells me he's a smart kid. Okay, that gives him something. Yeah. And the coaching staff saw something in him when, obviously, on the practice field, they put him above Pirine. And basically, Coach LaFleur said today, it's nothing to do with Pirine. It's just Walter was better. And so that tells me Pirine's not doing something. What could it be that Pirine's not doing? Maybe he's not reading properly. When you're running, you got to read people's helmets. You got to know, are they going to the left or are they going to the right? And if you make the wrong read, you're going to get blown up. And maybe Pirine's making wrong reads or something like that. And maybe Austin Walter made the right reads and impressed everybody in practice. And so, I like what I've seen so far. The kid went to Rice. He's a good kid. I saw him on, I saw the interviews. I saw him on One Jets Drive. He's just a solid, smart kid. And, maybe we found something. And
Did he put his helmet in the right place?
He keeps his helmet in the correct place. He doesn't get screamed at by AVT or anyone else. He knows what he's doing. He's respectful. And so you got to love him. And maybe he turns out to be something. That would be wonderful if he does. I mean, another JD find out of nowhere. Nobody knew who this kid was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. What do you think, Adam? Are you into the Austin Walter buzz?
Oh my gosh, I just love that his Twitter handle alone is Groovy Baby. Like, we were watching the game together. Every time he'd have a big run, I'm just like, Groovy Baby.
Nice. There you go. Hey, that's something.
Yeah, he said that came from Austin Powers. So he's Austin. So that's where it came
from. I didn't make that connection. Thanks, you two.
Okay,
together.
There you go.
Yeah, I landed. I'm with you.
I can't wait for him to make his $1 million. Okay. But 5'8", 205, a little battering ram who plays with that kind of fierceness. You have to love that. But I'll tell you what, did you guys read the article in the New York Post that was on him about a couple of days ago? Mm-mm. If you haven't, I really recommend it. It was really good. Talked about his mom, his faith, and just how he promised his mom, they prayed the night before that he was going to score a touchdown, and he did it. But if ever there was a guy who was destined to be a Jet, it's Austin Walter. And I'll tell you why. When he was 6 years old, he joined a little league team called the Jets. And that year they won a Super Bowl in that league. It ain't no happenstance.
It's got to be. It ain't no happenstance. It ain't no happenstance.
I like that. I like it.
Maybe he becomes our RB3. I mean, it's great. It's great.
Do it again, Jeremy. There he is. Look at that.
In case anybody doesn't understand, that's what Green Bean said when he was featured on One Jets Drive. He said, "This ain't no happenstance. It's a guarantee." Right. That we're going to win. And then we went on to lose, but still.
We did. But it
ain't
still
no happenstance.
It's not. We're doing it. This season, all these losses is also not happenstance. It's by design. We know what it is. We know what's going on. So, Jeremy, Frankie brought up a little thing before. Does Zach Wilson, has he hit the screen pass well at BYU? Do you know? Is that something that was a part of their offense? You're on mute there, kid.
It wasn't a huge part of their offense, but obviously they threw some screens. It was But his strength was definitely intermediate to long passes. There's no question about it. He was really good up the middle and deep. But obviously, like any team, he threw plenty of short passes. And what was impressive about his short passes is they weren't just like receptions, but he threw into tight coverage often when he threw short passes and guys going across the field, and his ball placement was excellent. That's what I loved about him. So this is mental. This is not about his. This is not about his. Yeah, it's not about his arm talent or his ability. It's all here.
Well, maybe like what Frankie was saying earlier, that his body language is telling a story. So he seems relaxed. He seems like he might be kind of settling in here. And look, that $145, like we said, there was a couple drops, the touchdown, and it wasn't all perfect, but it could have been with a couple inches here and there. The details, if they were a little bit more intact, it could have been a different story. But without question, he did settle down, and we did get the win, 18 unanswered points, which is, look, that's what we're asking for. We were down 14-3. We came back and beat him 21-14. So Zach Wilson was effective enough, and he did seem to relax in the game somewhat. So maybe that'll carry over to this week. Mike Chernock is saying, we have to have a quick start, which is interesting too, because I think that was Zach Wilson's first half touchdown, wasn't it? Wasn't that his first half touchdown last week? Toward the end of the first half. I think that's accurate. Anybody know?
I thought he had one against Tennessee.
I don't.
Did he not have a first half?
About that?
Did he not? I thought that he did, but
yeah. Well, So it's like just the fact. Look, we started slow. It looked like holy shit. Even guys like yourself, Jeremy, were saying this guy might not be good because we saw Mike White, we saw Josh Johnson, we saw Joe Flacco. Everybody threw for 300 yards, give or take. And then Zach Wilson comes in and he has 5 yards passing in the middle of the second quarter. And it was like, holy cow, this is real. This guy might not have it, but he settled down. And maybe like Frankie's saying, that game being able to settle down, his quarterback coach is here, everybody's working with him, and he's going into the Eagles game and he's like, I'm here. I'm ready. I'm going to slow down their rush with these little short dump offs. They're the easiest thing in the world, and I can do this. So maybe that is what we're about to see. I want to bring up a super chat. Thomas Cahill checks in. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate the super chat. He says, Namath hit Snell right in the back on purpose. Now, I'm going to admit something to you, Thomas. I don't know what that means. Frankie, Jeremy.
That's before my time. That's before my time.
Yeah, I didn't see the play, but like I would have to look it up why he would on purpose hit him in the back. Maybe he was getting rid of the lesson.
To teach him a lesson.
Because he was mad at him.
We can see the other guys doing that to Namath when he first came up. Here you go, Mr. $427,000.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So he was letting people know, like, look, dude, I'm the boss. Take this in your back. So I don't know, Thomas. I appreciate the super chat. It's hard to decipher and disseminate, actually, what that means. Clearly, we're trying, and probably we're failing. But the effort is there. The effort is there. The desire is there. If you check back in the chat and let us know what that means, we could talk about it some more. He said, okay, let's see. He said, it was just like Wilson. Yes, he was mad. Oh, okay. See? All right. So we look,
story.
There it is. And look, so there's precedence here. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean as much as everybody tries to make it mean. And like if you look at that play, like Frankie said, if you watch the game again and you look at how close that was to either being a completion or a good run, that's just one of those things. Don't forget, Ty Johnson, Zach Wilson in that game was his 5th quarterback in as many weeks. He had Zach Wilson in the Patriot game, and then Mike White in the Patriot game, Mike White in the Cincy game, Mike White and Josh Johnson in the Colts game. Then Joe Flacco, Mike White in the Bills game, Joe Flacco in the next. So now Zach's back. So that connection is not there. You know what I mean? And that's the result of that. You can see Ty Johnson just thought, okay, he's running. I'm going to block for him, which is what you would want him to do. But Zach decided to throw it because their telepathy isn't there. They can't read each other. And that's one of those things. I think it's a simple mistake. And the fact that it ended up being a pick, that's just happenstance. You know, if I've ever seen it, that was like the most ridiculously fortunate play that I've seen in a long time. You know, bounced off his back, and so I wouldn't say that's why. It's not like Zach throwing it to the defensive back in the first Patriots game with nobody around in the second half. It was like where the hell was he throwing it? That was not that.
You know, there was two things, GreenBean, that people didn't mention about Zach in that game, or that have come out since the game that people haven't talked about. One was that one of the things that the reason why Zach flicked that ball and did that was he felt he was in a situation. He was worried about his knee because he felt like he was in a situation where he was about to get hit, and like if he was going to run, he was going to get. There were guys there. So he was like, it was almost like I can't throw the ball. He kind of like, it was just a quick jerk reaction of I got to get rid of the ball. I'm not out of the pocket, so I can't ground it. And I'm going to take a hit, and I don't want to take the hit and do that to my knee. So there's a lot going on. The other thing that people, and I'm feeling a lot better about Zach, is when you talk about that was maybe looked like such a bad decision, was remember that awkward running play where he scored the touchdown? And you said that didn't look like a good play. That was awkward. What that was Zach pulled the ball back. It was supposed to be a running play, and he read as the ball was being snapped. He read that and was able to see that the play wasn't going to work. And that's why he pulled the ball back, because he said it had no chance. And then he on his own did that running play for the touchdown and showed a lot of grit and toughness by going right through the defender.
That's right. We call that chutzpah. Don't we call that, Jeremy? Isn't that
he had a lot of chutzpah, but
isn't that Yiddish?
And that could be a sign of maturity. So that's a great point by Jeremy. That could be a sign that the game is slowing down. Think about how much stuff is coming at Zach Wilson in that moment. He's got monsters chasing him. He's got to read the defense. He's got to figure out where do I got to put the ball. And he says, okay, this is supposed to go to the running back, but you know what? I'm going to change it up on my own. Well, isn't that a sign of maturity? Maybe so. And I think that's a great point.
Yeah, it is. Right. And I think it also shows like an understanding, the intellectual piece is there, able to read what's in front of him and make a decision. So that all bodes well. And the fact that he got into the end zone obviously is a good indicator for him making successful decisions moving forward. So that's a good thing. I want to say good night to Aunt Gina. Good night, Jean. I hope you have a wonderful, restful slumber, and tomorrow greets you with sunshine and birds and all that. So I hope you have a great night. Interestingly enough, that brings us to the end of the show here. Before we do that, though, Y2K, you got any other important stats that you brought with you that you want to dump, or are you good? Anything?
I'll give you two quick things.
Sure.
I think one of the things we really need to look at here is kicking. We're all very down on Matt Amendola. I think at this point, his best performance was his punting in week 1. But yeah, so he has made overall 27 out of 34 kicks this year. Jake Elliott was just named the NFC, I think, Special Teams Player of the Month. He's made 48 out of 50 kicks this year, including all of them from inside 40 yards. So if this game comes down to kicking, we are in trouble.
Wow.
We do have Kessman on the practice squad, and we also had somebody else in today.
Eddie Pinheiro.
Pinheiro. So we are making it a competition. They interviewed Boyer, special teams coach Boyer had a press conference, and he said, "I'll let you know on Friday." They're competing, so there's no guarantee Amendola is going to be the guy. Maybe Kessman, maybe Pinheiro. So
I hate it. I just want a fucking kicker. Pardon my English.
But the interesting thing is, I think we all would like Borregales, and yet Borregales is sitting there on Tampa Bay's practice squad, and we don't poach him. He's totally poachable, and no team has poached him.
Why? What is it?
And nobody knows.
Did Bruce Arians just let the league know I will flat out punch you square in the chops if you touch my Borregales? I mean, what is it?
That
You
would be pretty
think?
dumb. That would be a pretty dumb thing to do. And also, Borgalis, these players want to be on the 53 man. They don't want to be on a practice squad. You make a lot more money on the 53 man.
Absolutely.
So they want to be poached. When you talk about poaching, they want to be poached. And even if they're protected, so some people might say in the chat, isn't he protected? He might be protected. You can only protect people from Wednesday on. So you can poach somebody Monday, Tuesday, all day long, even the protected people.
And can't you only protect them for three weeks in a row before you have to give them an active roster spot? That's my understanding.
Maybe so. Yeah. So there's all sorts of things.
Weeks,
like
that's
you really shouldn't, from a player perspective, you shouldn't be able to protect them at all. Like I don't understand why the players union agreed to that. But yeah, there's all these restrictions, so they can be poached, and you can poach even protected players on Monday and Tuesday of any week. So even if they're protecting them, you can still poach them.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be something because there are other teams that are having kicker trouble as well, and nobody touches Borregales. It just seems odd. He was, one of the top kickers in the country last year, undrafted, and he's sitting on a practice squad, and nobody's grabbed him. I mean, from my perspective, it seems like a no-brainer, but there has to be something. Maybe he's really mean, smells. I mean, I don't know, something.
I mean, I would wonder, how do you evaluate a kicker other than field goal percentage, extra point percentage, and then how far out they kick them? Is there any other evaluative tool? What's the PFF grades for kickers? What about what's the DVOA for kicking?
Yeah, right. What is it?
Do anything with kickoffs? Like if they get in the end zone or kick it down inside the 5? Who knows what they do?
Otherwise, because you could watch Quincy Williams on tape and you could say, wait a minute, they're using him wrong, or wait a minute, look at his explosive, look at this, look at that. If we put him in our system, we could make him do this. For kickers, how the heck do you do that?
Yeah. It's like kick it through the uprights. He's either good or he's bad. Like that's it.
It's so much. It's so much. I bet you all the kickers you see on NFL rosters, right, are amazing in practice when there's no pressure. I think it's just all about who can do it game time, when it's to win a game, or the pressure's on 48-yarder. That's when you find out who they are. And there are guys who've done it so well. They do it for 12 to 15 years in any situation, and they're automatic. And but I think that's the mental part. I think there are plenty of guys that can kick like that. It's just that they psychologically can't hold up. The pressure gets to them, and they shank it.
Yeah, and that's what's happening with Amendola to some effect. I mean, his leg is not the question. You know what I mean? So I don't know what it is, but
these kickers are like pitchers. They can all throw like 100 miles an hour. A kicker, pretty much every kicker can kick the ball 60 yards nowadays. These they clear it, but the accuracy, I mean, the touch, the placement, that's what makes the difference. And there's so few guys who have it. I mean, Justin Tucker is an anomaly, how consistent he is. Guys like that.
Unbelievable, man. And that's what we need. We need to get back to having a kicker for a decade. You know what I mean? Just our guy. He's good. He misses one every so often, but he's a lock. That's the kind of guy that you want. And Amendola looks like he's not going to be that. Cade York in the draft is my guy this year from LSU. That's the guy. Or Christian Dicker, the super kicker. Just because it rhymes, I would take that as well. So we're going to wrap this one up. I want to remind everybody about Jeremy's new channel. It's called, what's it called again, Jeremy?
NFL Chaos with Jeremy. It's still going to be very Jets heavy, but it's going to be a lot more NFL, like around the NFL also. So predicting games, talking about all the games, post game, things like that.
He's going to talk about Seattle, the Panthers, and teams we trade to, and all that kind of stuff. So, yes, please give Jeremy a follow. Obviously, we all know and love him. He's around, and he's in this thing with us. So let's give him our support if we can. Frankie from Flatbush has a channel named Frankie from Flatbush right here on YouTube. But, Frankie, what else you got? You have anything else coming up that we need to know about?
Well, I do live shows at Friday night at 8, Sunday night at 7, and also started a new thing, Coffee with Frankie, at 11:30 a.m. on Sunday, so I can talk about the transactions. What's going on? Who's active? Who's inactive? Who's surprise injury? Who are we activating? Is Leroy Reynolds here? Is Denzel Mims going to play? So 11:30 at Coffee with Frankie before the game, and we chat. But yeah, that's mostly it.
BYOC, right, Frankie?
You cut out there, Green Bean.
BYOC, right?
Yeah, bring your own coffee. I don't provide the coffee. Just for
it's
myself.
important. And if you want donuts, you can do anything you want. Coffee with Frankie. I love it. I think that's a great idea. Watch2K99, what do you got cooking over there in Virginia?
You know what? We're doing a lot with Toys for Tots. We've been filling up cardboard boxes full of toys. In fact, Tim Lynch, one of our administrators, you didn't have a chance to meet him when you came, unfortunately, at a family situation. But he literally just went out and brought $257 worth of toys. And we're giving all these toys away to local charities here in the Hampton Roads area. So
that's amazing.
And we actually have a deal going with AJ Gators. If we donate a toy, they're giving us like a 10% discount off our food bills. So we've got like a whole deal going on right now. And
I like it.
Yeah, we've donated, like we've filled, like if you could imagine one of those cardboard bins, like those high cardboard bins boxes. We've already filled up 3, and I think we're going to be filling up maybe 4 and 5 this week. It's pretty
That's
fantastic.
incredible. And that is the Virginia Jets fan club. Y2K is the president of. And they meet at AJ Gators in Norfolk, Virginia. I went down there. Fantastic bunch of people. And the wings are actually worthy of ordering. And that is also important for you to know. Guys, don't forget about the contest we're having right here on this channel. All you need to do is hit that sub button and go over to Full-Time Coaster Tour on YouTube and hit that sub button as well. And you are entered. You can win a shirt like Jeremy's wearing or any other shirt from the GreenBeanjetsfan.com merch store. And you can also win a Manscaped Ultra Smooth package. And don't forget, it's Christmas season. What better than sports memorabilia? The link right in the top of this description takes you right to the Jets page. All purchases support the channel. You spend over $50, free shipping, and that would be greatly appreciated as well. Guys, I'm so happy that you were here. I want to thank the panel again. You guys are awesome. This was a fast one for me. It flew by. So that's usually a good sign that things went well. I thank you all for being here, and everybody have a fantastic night. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, baby.
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.